Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. That breaking. Let me just fix this over here. Slide some of this back so it's a little bit more balanced. They really got it tightly situated over there, huh? What about that?
This lower thing.
Okay, that's, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, there you go. Okay, thank you so much. Hare Krishna. So I hope this will be suitable. Hare Krishna. And so we're reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam. We've been studying this verse for several days now. Let me see. So, we're not going to spend too much time with the Sanskrit text. I'll say it, if anyone else. I'm very poor with languages. I can hardly speak English properly, but we'll try this. Aham evāsam evāgre. Aham evāsam evāgre. Nānyad asat param. Nānyad sad-asat param. Paścād aham etac. Paścād aham etac. Yo vaśiṣyeta asmi aham. Yo vaśiṣyeta asmi aham. Aham evāsam evāgre. Nānyad sad-asat param. Paścād aham etac. Yo vaśiṣyeta swami aham. Anyone else would like to chant? Any of the ladies?
evāsam evāgre. anyat sad-asat param. paścād aham etac. yo vaśiṣyeta asmi aham.
Aham, I, the Personality of Godhead. Eva, certainly. Asam, existed, eva, only, agre, before the creation, na, never, anyat, anything else, yat, all those, sat, the effect, asat, the cause, param, the supreme, paścāt, at the end, aham, I, the personality of Godhead, yat, all these, etat, creation, cha, also, ya, everything, avaśiṣyeta, remains, saha, that, asmi, aham, I am, ahaṁ, I, the personality of Godhead. So let us just recite this prayer together. I'll say, and you can repeat. Brahmā, it is I, the personality of Godhead, who was existing before the creation, when there was nothing but myself, nor was there the material nature, the cause of creation. That which you see now is also I, the personality of Godhead. And after annihilation, what remains will also be I, the personality of Godhead. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Ittanamni Namaste Saraswati Devam Gauravani Pachani Nivasesha Sinyavadi Paścāt Satani. So we've been on this verse for 3 days, not yesterday, but on Thursday, Malati began with the purport, and then on Friday, Nityodita also continued with the purport, and now I'm finishing with the purport. So this purport is rather long. The Prabhupada's commentary is over 6 pages. And so this is very unusual. Prabhupada, in some cases, in some important cases, Prabhupada makes a rather lengthy commentary. And so this is also an important case, and we'll understand why. Actually, Malati, she began by speaking about the Vedic literatures and how important the Vedic literatures are. And even though they're so important, even though after compiling all of the Vedic scriptures, then Vyasadeva, he was still not satisfied. He was still a little bit left some feeling in his heart that he had not completed the job thoroughly. And so Narada Muni, his guru, came and he explained to Vyasadeva that you're still not satisfied because you have not properly explained the nature of the personality of Godhead. Who is that personality, and what is his complete nature that we can understand? And so Narada Muni suggested that he write this down, and that what he wrote was the Srimad Bhagavatam, the Bhagavat Purana, in 12 cantos. And the most important canto is the 10th canto, because in the entire book there's an explanation of the different ways that Krishna appeared, that Vishnu appeared. And his most extraordinary appearance in this material world is in in Vrindaban, India. And so Malati explained these things, and she went on to read the first section of the purport. And then on Friday, Nityodita talked about the word aham. This is a very important word. Aham means I. And so here it's being used 3 times by the Supreme Lord. And in the Bhagavad Gita, it's used innumerable times. So many times throughout the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is saying aham, me, or sometimes he might say mam, to me, or aham means I. A famous verse that Nityodita Prabhu gave is aham savasa prabhavo. This is in the 10th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. It is a very important verse, that I am the source. Aham savasya prabhavo. I am the source of everything. Of all the material worlds, of all the spiritual worlds, I am the source. But the problem is, and this is why Prabhupada has written such a lengthy purport, that there's so much embedded in our brains of this impersonal, the Mayavadi mentality in India and around the world. This is embedded. So when the scholars or the yogis, when they read the Bhagavad Gita, when they say aham, they say, oh, this doesn't mean Krishna. This means the cosmic oneness. And so they're giving some interpretation. And so when the devotee, especially like Srila Prabhupada, such an exalted devotee, when he hears such a concoction, he wants to make sure that it can be rectified, this understanding can be rectified. Just like, for instance, there's that famous verse, aham brahmasmi. Aham brahmasmi, what does that mean? That I am Brahman, I am divine. So when people say aham brahmasmi, they know they're referring to themselves. But when Krishna says aham, they don't know who he's referring to, because of the confusion of the scholars and the commentators and the yogis on the Bhagavad Gita. They've kind of confused the mind to not understanding properly. So Prabhupada said that he is fighting against these interpretations. Krishna is saying aham, meaning I am the Supreme Personality of Godhead, in numerous places. And so one scholar said, well, you're also making an interpretation. You're saying that Krishna is that I. And so Prabhupada said, no, I'm not interpreting. I'm just explaining for your benefit what this verse, the proper understanding. So let me read my section of the commentary by Prabhupada. This is the 3rd installment. In the Brihat Aranyaka Upanishad 141, there is a hymn, Atmanivedanam agra asat purusha vidha. This mantra indicates that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, even before the appearance of Purusha incarnation, in the Bhagavad Gita, it is explained, 15:18, it is said that the Lord Krishna is the Purushottama, because he is the Supreme Purusha, the transcendental, even to Purusha Akshara and the Purusha Shara. So Akshara and Shara, this is explained in the verse 15:18. He's explaining that I am beyond the finite and the infinite. So, sometimes we look at it in the material world. What is finite what is temporary, and what is infinite, what is eternal. And so Krishna explains that he's actually beyond even the finite and the infinite. And he is called Adhoksaja. Adhoksaja refers to the alphabet. Here in America, we have the alphabet begins with A and ends with Z. So Krishna says, I am everything from A to Z and beyond. All of these things that are contained within A to Z and even beyond. That is referred to as Adhoksaja, Krishna. And so let me continue. That the Brihad Aranyaka Gita, Upanishad, therefore confirms the statement of the Bhagavad Gita that Lord Krishna is the Supreme Person, the Purushottama. In some of the Vedas it is also said that in the beginning only the impersonal Brahman existed. However, according to the verse, the impersonal Brahman, which is the glowing effulgence of the body of the Supreme Lord, may be called the immediate cause. But the cause of all causes, or the remote cause of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but the cause of all causes, or the remote cause, is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Lord's impersonal feature is existent in the material world because by the material senses or the material eyes, the Lord cannot be seen or perceived. One has to spiritualize the senses before one can expect to see or perceive the Supreme Lord. But he is always engaged in his personal capacity. He is eternally visible to the inhabitants of Vaikuntha Loka, face to face. Therefore he is materially impersonal, just as the executive head of the state may be impersonal in the government offices, although he is not impersonal in the government house. So, what does this mean over here? Just to give you a better understanding. Just for instance, let's say you own a mansion and you're occupying a few rooms with your family. There may be 30 or 40 rooms in the mansion, and you may need a staff. So even though you're localized, you're personally in certain rooms, still, because of your staff, they're acting according to your direction. Whether your staff is cleaning, or whether your staff is in the kitchen cooking, whether your staff is driving your limousine. So you may have a staff, and they're all working. In one sense, they're representing you. They're all working on your behalf, even though you may not be personally present in that particular place where your staff is working. And so here, Prabhupada is explaining this. It's very easy to understand what is personal and what is impersonal. But you know, in this process, this Vedic process, there's actually 3 different types of realization. Prabhupada is against the Mayavadis and the Impersonalists because they're giving a false understanding of the Bhagavad Gita. But we also have what is called the Brahmavadis. You know, there's 3 types of realization. Brahman realization, and then there's Paramatma realization, the Lord situated within our hearts. And then also the topmost is Bhagavan realization, that personal understanding of the Supreme Lord. And so, according to one's nature, one may have an attitude of understanding a particular dynamics of the Supreme Lord. So there are those who are called the Brahmavadis. They want to attain the Brahmajyoti. And so they know about the Paramatma, they know about the Bhagavan, but their preference is the Brahmajyoti. They're not denying Bhagavan. They're not denying Paramatma. They have a preference. Actually, there's an interesting story that I heard recently from Indradyumna Maharaj. He is giving some nice commentary over the last 1 year that you can see on YouTube about Vrindaban. So many different pastimes. The whole theme is about Vrindaban. Whether it's Vrindavan in Krishna's time, or in Vrindavan the time of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the 6 Goswamis, there's a wealth of knowledge and a wealth of stories that are connected. And Indradyumna so skillfully brings those stories out. So one story, this is about Krishna, and he's getting up early in the morning. His mother Yasoda is waking him up, as a matter of fact. And she's saying, "My dear child, get up, get up." And even before Krishna gets up, even before he opens his eyes, as he's about to get up, he says to his mata, he says, "Mata, I want some butter." And his mata laughs. "Butter? We have enough supply of butter in the house. You don't have to worry. Just get up and prepare yourself, and then you can have some butter for breakfast." And Krishna says, no, I want the butter now, right now. And Mother Yasoda knows how much pleasure that Krishna receives from butter. But he also receives great pleasure from stealing the butter. Makanchor, the butter thief. So Mother Yasoda has to confront Krishna. This is a good time, she thinks, to confront Krishna about this stealing butter. And she says, so many of the elderly gopis, they are coming to me. They're complaining that you're going into their house and stealing the butter. What's going on? Krishna, you're getting older now. You're getting old enough to take up some studying. There's always a time in childhood where you begin formal study. And so this Mother Yasoda was suggesting that stop this nonsense activities of annoying people, taking butter that is not yours. Now is a good opportune time to study. And Krishna is saying, "Study? Mataji, what should I study?" And she thinks for a moment, and she said, "Well, you can study the Vedas. You can learn something." And he thinks, "Well, I can study the Vedas. What is there to know? What will be the benefit of my studying the Vedas?" And Mother Yasoda says, "Well, the benefit will be that you'll get knowledge." And so Krishna said, "Knowledge? What do I need knowledge for? What is the benefit of the knowledge?" And Mother Yasoda, she continues, she says, "The benefit of the knowledge is that then you can obtain liberation, mukti." And Krishna again, "Mukti? What am I going to do with mukti? What is the benefit for me for this mukti?" And then she explains that when one attains mukti, then they can enter into the Brahmajyoti, that divine light, the Brahmajyoti. And so Krishna says, "Well, when I attain that destination of the Brahmajyoti, Mata, will you be there also? Are you coming?" And she laughs. She says, "Oh, no, it's not like that." And he inquires further, "Will Father be there?" And she says, No, you don't understand the nature of the Brahmajyoti. But he continues, he says, "Well, what about my friends? What about Radha? Will they be there?" And she explains, no, the Brahmajyoti liberation means that you completely lose your personality. You enter into the divine light, the divine oneness. And Krishna says, I reject this idea of mukti of Brahma Jyoti. If you cannot be there, and if Peter cannot be there, and my friends cannot be there, and Radha and the gopis, what is the value? The real value is in our relationships, our loving relationships. This is what Srila Prabhupada has come to America for, to teach people how to engage in bhakti, developing loving relationships with the Supreme Lord. Bray, can you do me a big favor? Can you move this out of the way so we can get a view here of the Supreme Lord? Thank you so much. So we always want to meditate, not on the Brahman, but we want to meditate and keep our eyes and our ears and our mind focused on the Supreme Lord. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. But let me continue reading over here, if I may. Similarly, the Lord is not impersonal in his abode, which is always, as stated at the very beginning of the Bhagavatam, nirasta kuhakam. Therefore, both the impersonal and the personal features of the Lord are acceptable, as mentioned in the revealed scriptures. The personality of Godhead is emphatically explained in the Bhagavad Gita, in connection with the verse, Brahmano hi prastista aham. Let me see, the Bhagavad Gita that is being referred here is 14:27. Let's see what the Bhagavad Gita has to say. This, I think, is the very last verse of the 14th chapter. This is the chapter called The Three Modes of Material Nature. And Krishna is explaining, he's also again using this word aham. I am the basis of the impersonal Brahman, which is immortal, imperishable, and eternal, and is the constitutional position of ultimate happiness. So, this is interesting because Prabhupada, when he talks about the Vaishnavas, when he talks about the Brahmavadis, there's a difference. But Prabhupada acknowledges that they're all transcendentalists. Anyone who's trying to achieve the Supreme in the various different modes, whether Brahman, whether Paramatma, whether Bhagavan, they're all considered transcendentalists. But let me continue over here. Therefore, in all ways, the confidential part of spiritual knowledge is realization of the personality of Godhead, and not his impersonal Brahman feature. One should therefore have his ultimate aim of the realization not of the impersonal feature, but in the personal feature of the absolute truth. So why is the ultimate aim? Because ultimately, we are individuals. We are persons. We can never really, why do we want to annihilate the personality of who we are? You know, sometimes the Mayavadis and others like the Buddhists, they look at this world and they see that all problems, all difficulties and disputes arise in life because of our egos. So their conclusion, let us destroy the ego and then we can attain real peace. But our conclusion is no, that is not the real solution, because we have a real ego, we have a false ego which is identified with the body. But the real ego is who we actually are. And we are Sat Chit Ananda, just like Krishna. Krishna is eternal. Krishna is full of knowledge, the source of all knowledge. Ananda, Krishna is the source of all pleasures. And so we are also, just like Krishna, Sat Chit Ananda. But we are finite. Krishna is the infinite Satchidananda, but we are the finite, the small Satchidananda. And so this is our natural constitutional position. Why? It's natural to have loving relationships. Everyone wants a loving relationship in life. And so this is fully natural. And in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is encouraging us. Throughout the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is encouraging us to understand who we are and to understand who He is and to understand our eternal relationship together. Nitya Yukta Upasate, that the eternal relationship that we have with the Lord. But let me continue over here to conclude this commentary. Because like I said, this purport, this commentary by Prabhupada is 6 pages. And so I was given 2 pages, and previously the other devotees were each given 2 pages. But let me finish over here. The example of the sky within the pot and the sky outside of the pot may be helpful to the student for his realization of the all-pervading quality of the cosmic consciousness of the absolute truth. So that's a very difficult idea to wrap our heads around. So there's the sky, some of it is within the pot, some of it is outside the pot. That does not mean that the individual part and the parcel of the Lord becomes the supreme by false claim. It means only that the conditioned soul is the victim of the illusory energy in her last snare. What is the last snare of the illusory energy of Maya? Here Prabhupada explains. To claim to be one with the cosmic consciousness of the Lord is the last trap set by the illusory energy, or divya maya. Even in the impersonal existence of the Lord as it is in the material creation, one should aspire for personal realization of the Lord. That we are persons, that the Lord is a person, and that we have an eternal loving relationship with the Supreme Lord. And this is why Prabhupada has Bhagavad Gita. It's the most used Bhagavad Gita throughout the world. But he calls his Bhagavad Gita as it is. Bhagavad Gita as it is. What is the real understanding? Not the Mayavadi understanding, not the scholarly or the poetic understanding, but he explains the Bhagavad Gita as it is. And so here Prabhupada explains where am I here? Brahmaji also accepted the same truth when he was instructing Narada. He said, Soham te bidhitas tata Bhagavan Vishva Bhagavana. This is in the Srimad Bhagavatam. There's no other cause or causes than the Supreme Personality of Godhead Hari. Therefore, this verse, again, aham eva, never indicates anything other than the Supreme Lord. Again, aham is used. And one should therefore follow the path of Brahma Sampradaya. This is the path that we are following, the path of the Vaishnavas. The Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya. This is the lineage that's been coming down for thousands and thousands, hundreds and thousands, millions of years from the time Lord Brahma. So Prabhupada continues to explain that the path from Brahmaji to Narada Muni to Vyasadeva and on, etc., and make it a point in life to realize the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hari, Lord Krishna. And here we're coming to the very end of the purport. This very confidential instruction to the pure devotees of the Lord is also given to Arjuna and to Brahma in the beginning of the creation. The demigods like Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwara, Indra, Chandra, and Varuna are undoubtedly different forms of the Lord for execution of different functions. The different eternal ingredients of material creation, as well as the multifarious energies, may be of the same personality of Godhead. But the root of all of them is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So everything is coming from the root, from the source. Prabhupada finishes up that the root of them all is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. One should be attached to the root of everything rather than becoming bewildered by the branches and the leaves. That is the main instruction given in this verse. So here Prabhupada is very emphatic. He's very, his conclusion is very definitive. So the world, even Prabhupada's guru mantra, we are praying to Prabhupada that you have come to the West to deliver everyone, nirvisesha sinyavadi, paścāt desatarni, that to deliver us from voidism and from mayavadism and impersonalism. So how does he deliver? By presenting the absolute truth conclusively, without a smudge, without an iota of deviation. He makes this conclusive, no deviation. And he insists, he implores the preachers of the Hare Krishna movement, also, when you're preaching from the scriptures, when you're preaching from Bhagavad Gita, don't make a deviation. So we can put it in our own words, and we can make it palatable to the ear. Prabhupada, he wanted the devotees to make it palatable. Palatable means that when you hear it, then you begin to consider what it actually means. It's palatable, just like when you're eating something. You may be eating a dish that's cooked very well, and it's very tasty, and that means it's palatable. It's enjoyable to the senses. So we also must make Krishna consciousness palatable when we're speaking, that people will be appreciative of it, that people will begin to relish it and understand it and want to proceed further. You know, I'm a writer. I've written several books. Actually, later on, I'll be here. A few visitors last night, they wanted to purchase my book, so I'll be here. I have a few books, some for kids. But the writing, one writer says, he was asked, when you write your book, what are you trying to accomplish? So the writer says, well, I'm trying to accomplish that a person is reading to on the first page, I want them to get to the second page. And when they're reading the second page, I want to make it interesting enough that they get to the third page. And so this is what palatable means, that it's enticing. It's enriching. We want to understand more and more and more. This is the nature of the Vaishnavas, that they want to present this Krishna consciousness in a way that people will consider it, that they'll appreciate it, and they'll want to go deeper and deeper into this divine philosophy of Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita. So let me see if I have any other thoughts that I wanted to share. I wanted to share a quick story, because there's so many different types of consideration. And these considerations are actually there to help us engage our minds, to consider the personal and the impersonal aspects of the Godhead. Also, you know, the yogis over the years, thousands and thousands of years ago, the yogis were also getting together to debate, to have a conference. Just like nowadays there's so many conferences going on, that you can go to a conference and spend a few days there and get a better understanding of whatever the theme of the conference is, whatever you want to know, you can get a better appreciation. And so once the yogis, they were also debating at one of their conferences about the nature of Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. That Brahma is the creator, Vishnu is the maintainer, Shiva is the destroyer. But who is actually a transcendent personality? Who is actually above the modes of material nature? Above the impulse for the various impulses that we have. We're all afflicted by the modes of material nature. That means the sataguna and the tamaguna, the rajaguna, and lastly the tamaguna. The mode of goodness, the mode of passion, and the mode of ignorance. So which one of these personalities, if any, are transcendent to the modes of the material world? And so Brighamuni, he was the son of Brahma. He volunteered. I'll go and test the various personalities and find out myself. So these things are going on all of the time. And this is the way we sharpen our wits when there's some controversy, when there's some decision that has to be made. But you know what? Prabhupada explains that even amongst pure devotees, there may be differences of opinion. So this is very interesting. But now they sent Brighamuni out to test the different personalities, to find out who is actually above the modes of material nature. So he goes to visit his father, Lord Brahma. And usually when you go visit a superior or your father, you offer respects. But Brighamuni, he did not offer respects to his father. He just casually greeted his father. And Brahma was getting a little annoyed. What type of son do I have here? He has not greeted me properly. And he's getting annoyed. He's getting, from annoyance, he's getting more angry. But then Brahma, he checks his anger, his annoyance, and he calms down. He doesn't say a word. So he is not, he by his superior knowledge, then he can subdue all of these impulses. Although he gets the impulses, but he doesn't act upon the impulses. And then Brighamuni goes to visit his brother, Shiva. And Shiva sees Brighamuni coming up the path. And he's running out. Shiva is so happy to see him. He runs out with open arms. He wants to hug his brother. And his brother recoils. Keep away from me, don't touch me. Shiva says, what are you talking about? He says, you're dirty, filthy. You're always covered with ashes. You want to stay around the company of the dead. Don't touch me. And so when Shiva hears these words, he becomes very, very angry. How are you speaking to me like this? And he grabs his trident. He's about to kill his own brother. But Shiva's wife, Parvati, comes she subdues her husband. And so now they both reacted. Brahma reacted, but he reacted, but he didn't act on his reaction. But Shiva reacted, but he reacted. He was going to act upon this. He was thrust into the modes of material nature, into the gunas. And so finally, Bhrigu Muni goes to see Vishnu in Svetadvip. And there Vishnu is reclining, and the goddess of Lakshmi is massaging his feet. And then Bhrigu Muni comes there, and he immediately goes and he kicks Krishna. This is the greatest offense, that you not only say something bad about somebody, but now you actually kick him, the cardinal offense. But what does Vishnu do? He jumps up and he says, "My dear Bhrigu Muni, I hope that you did not harm your foot. Your foot is so tender and delicate, and my heart is so strong. It's as hard as a rock, my chest. And so I hope that you have not harmed your foot. Let me massage it for you." And so finally Bhrigu Muni comes back to the sages, and he explains what happened in each case. And amazingly enough, the sages, they are totally flabbergasted by Lord Vishnu's reaction, that he is so humble. He is beyond the modes of material nature. Even if somebody says something bad, or even if somebody pushes him or kicks him, he is totally self-controlled. He is not ready to act upon these modes of material nature. He is a unique transcendental personality. And so this is why we take the time to study the scripture every day. Prabhupada set up this program where we want to do some reading. And so also in your own homes, you can also read the Bhagavad Gita or the Srimad Bhagavatam. I suggest that the Bhagavad Gitas, they're over there in that corner. If someone doesn't have Bhagavad Gita as it is, you should purchase that book. It's over here. It's only, I think, $10. And so you can do that. And then also the devotees, let's see if I have, we have the Japamala. We're chanting. You can do this in your own home. Have read a verse from Bhagavad Gita. Do a little chanting. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So in this way, you come to the holy place. You become inspired. Some of you, of course, you're already chanting, you're already studying. But anyone can do this in their own homes. You can make a little temple in your own home. And just devote, you can devote in the morning if you're busy, maybe even begin with 15 minutes in the morning for a little reading and a little chanting. To do one round of chanting, one complete round, 108 beads, it might take about 10 minutes. Or even if you chant quickly, maybe 7 or 8 minutes. So if you do 15 minutes in the morning, that is your seva. Every morning, your sadhana, you begin and you gradually go deeper and deeper and deeper. So this is the process in this age of Kali Yuga, this bhakti yoga, this chanting of the holy name of Krishna. So I thank you so much for your kind attention. And in closing, are there any final comments or questions that anyone has? If you raise your hand, we can get you a microphone also.
Yeah, Hare Krishna, such a wonderful class. So I have a question. Could you please explain what is the difference between Mayavadi, Personalist and Brahmavadis?
What is that?
Yeah, could you please explain the difference between Mayavadis, Impersonalists and Brahmavadis?
And the Brahmavadi?
Yes.
Well, in one sense, they're going for the same conclusion. But the Brahmavadis, they understand there are the different processes. The Brahman realization, the Paramatma realization, and the Bhagavan realization. They understand that, but they choose for Brahman realization. But the Mayavadis, or the impersonalists, just like the Buddhists, they say, oh, everything is Maya. Only the oneness, the divine oneness, that is the only conclusion. We're not persons. We reject that. Only the oneness is the supreme. That's the only source of transcendence. So they reject the individuality of God. They reject our own individuality. So this is the main distinction between the Brahmavadis and the impersonalists. Even the impersonalists, to some degree, are also transcendentalists. But the Mayavadis, they totally reject everything as Maya. Even coming to the temple, oh, that's Maya. That's all material. Because you come to the temple and you worship Krishna, but soon you'll go beyond worshipping Krishna. Because Krishna is all mundane. This is only a way to transcend the mundane world. You can worship Krishna for a time, but then you go higher than that. So Prabhupada never makes that conclusion. That worshipping Krishna, we chant Hare Krishna now, and when we're self-realized, we'll continue chanting Hare Krishna. We're not going some stage somewhere else. But we chant, and we perfect our chanting. We refine our chanting. We come and offer obeisances to the deities, because we are the servants of Radha Vrindavan Chandra. This is our natural nature. We're servant. The best servant is to be servant of God. But whether you're a servant of God or you're still a servant, we're serving our families, we're serving our bosses in the workplace. If you're going to college or some school, you go there and you serve your teacher. The teacher says, you have to read this book, you have to take this test. Of course, you can say, oh, no, I don't want to read the book, I'm going. Of course, if you can only pass the grade if you take up the teacher's instruction and the professor's instruction. You read the book, you take the test. Otherwise, you're not going to pass the grade. And so even we're serving our own bodies. We're serving, we need to clothe the body. We want to clothe the body nicely. We want to eat nicely to satisfy the senses. At every moment in our lives, we're serving. We never stop serving. And the perfection of the service mentality is to serve the lotus feet of Radha and Krishna. So this is all, it's natural. It's not that we stop serving, then we attain the supreme Brahman. You may do that for some time, but there's always the time that I'm getting tired of being in the Brahman. Let me go back and continue my activities. So the activity is the natural nature. It's the natural way of the human being, of not only the human being, but all of the jiva, the jivatma. This is natural. To be active, to be in service, to be mindful, And so when we direct that service, when we direct that activity, the karma yoga, when we direct our intelligence, the jnana yoga, toward the Supreme Lord, then we perfect our lives. And anyone can do this. We don't have to go to the mountains, to the Himalayas, or to the forests and meditate like the yogis. You can stay at home. You don't have to leave your family or friends. You don't have to leave your occupation. No, you continue with everything, but you add the element of Krishna. You add this element of Krishna consciousness, and everything will be perfectly situated. You won't need to renounce anything else. Your family, your friends, your work, your occupation and profession. This is only natural. How many people can wander into the Himalayas and become yogis? So this is the process of this age, the Kali Yuga, the process of the chanting of the holy name of Krishna. So once again, I thank you. And if, like I said, I have some books available, I'll be here for a little while. You can go to Prasadam is in the next room here, and the breakfast Prasadam. And so I'll be here for a little while if you'd like to take a look at, I've written Mahabharata, and that's being used in colleges, and I've written Hanuman's Quest, and that's for kids. And I've written a couple of other books, and so if you're here, you can take a look. You might want to purchase my book. It's not very often you can buy a book directly from the author. But once again, I must thank you so much for your kind attention and for coming to visit with us here in New Vrindaban. Hare Krishna, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. And so the prasadam will be served out in the next room, through the door over here in the corner. Thank you very, very much. Hare Krishna.